And this is like the chronology of the events. Okay, so this is a forefather of Winston Churchill. This guy is John Churchill, first Duke of Marlborough, who lived between 1650 and 1722. Marlborough was one of the most famous and admired generals in British military history. This painting, celebrating victory over France in 1706, is a sketch for a larger painting. Marlborough played an important role in defeating the Duke of Monmouth's rebellion against James II. However, in the Revolution of 1688, driven by his commitment to Protestantism, he dramatically defected to the side of William of Orange. This was an important factor in James fleeing the country. Later, during the reign of Queen Anne, Marlborough was a key political and military player, aided by the close friendship his wife Sarah had with the Queen. Let's read what this gallery is about. Il cavallo, I cavalli. Oh, this is okay. And this abolition of slavery. Okay, so slavery and the abolition. The fortunes of people from across British society were connected to slavery. During the 1700s, Britain dominated the transatlantic slave trade, trafficking over 3 million Africans to the Americas. This accounted for nearly 25% of the total 12.5 million African people transported, almost 2 million of whom did not survive the voyage. In the 1760s, abolitionists, including Olaudah Equiano and Granville Sharp, challenged the slavery in the courts. Abolition was still opposed vigorously by many British people. William Wilberforce led the parliamentary campaign that ended British slave trading in 1807. Plantation slavery continued in Britain's Caribbean colonies. Uprisings of enslaved people, changed moral attitudes, and the shifting economy all contributed to the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833. Almost 200 years ago, right? Wait, yeah, 190 years ago. In order to realize abolition, the government paid about £20 million compensation to slave owners. Enslaved people received nothing. It must be like the House of Commons in 1833. Il Parlamento. Alright, let's keep walking. Okay, Demerara Uprising. During the Demerara Uprising of 1823, over 10,000 enslaved people in what is now Guyana risked their lives to fight for freedom. The uprising began on John Gladstone's plantation and was led by Kwamina and his son Jack, whose imagined portrait is below. They were responding to mistreatment and rumors that their promised freedom was being withheld. The uprising was the largest yet seen in a British colony. By focusing on occupying plantations, the rebels caused few casualties, yet the British responded by killing over 100 people, followed by the trial and public execution of 27 more, including Kwamina. The Demerara Uprising helped galvanize British support for the abolition of slavery. The action of enslaved people had challenged the system in ways that political campaigning never could. The fight for the rights. British radicals from all backgrounds were encouraged by the French Revolution, which began in 1789, when people rose up against their monarchy. For a short time, anything seemed possible. From 1790s, the British Radical Press and new working class organizations instigated protests calling for democracy and personal freedom. Fearing a revolution. In Britain, the authorities cracked down. At peaceful demonstration in Manchester in 1819, the cavalry charged into the crowd, injuring hundreds and killing at least 11 people. The event quickly became known as the Peterloo Massacre and rallied public pressure to reform. The Reform Bill of 1832 redrew electoral boundaries and extended the rights of middle-class men, but many people were still excluded from voting. Women's suffrage campaigns had to wait until 1928 to achieve full voting rights. Dagmara, hello. Спасибо, Tatiana. Okay, these are prints made from printmaking, made from copper plates. The development of the new technology. La chevalière d'Ion. La mémoire des héroïnes françaises Jeanne d'Arc. Boxing. A notebook. Greg Mellin, hello. Itai. Atlantic Worlds, Colonies, Conquest and Revolution. Okay. The 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763, between Britain and France and their allies realigned Europe's colonial territories around the world. Britain dominated the Atlantic, taking over Canada, parts of America, and the Caribbean. Dissatisfied with British rule and taxes, American colonies made the Declaration of Independence in 1776. France was paying back the rebels in the War of Independence. Both sides had support from among indigenous American peoples. The British also offered enslaved people in America freedom if they could escape and join up. Despite losing control of America in 1783, Britain maintained its role in transatlantic slave trade. This is Tayan Daneche, the indigenous American Mohawk warrior of Tayan Daneche, who called himself Joseph Brant from his youth, was an important strategic ally of the British during the American War of Independence. He led Britain's Bronze Volunteers, a unit that included colonists and Mohawk people, and made 2 diplomatic visits to Britain in 1775 and 1785, attempting to secure compensation and protection for Mohawk lands. Benjamin Franklin. No, doesn't want to focus. Strange. Who else is here? George Washington. Jerome, hello, buongiorno. What are this guy? My, Sir Joseph Banks and Daniel Solander. Oh, Mr. James Cook. Captain James Cook. Oops. Going farther than any man has been before, James Cook circumnavigated the globe, leading 3 voyages of scientific discovery between 1768 and 1779. Sailing his ship HMS Endeavour, Cook landed at Botany Bay in 1770 and claimed the east coast of Australia for George III. Cook's expeditions initiated future generations of British colonization in Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific. This was often a violent process in which many indigenous people lost their lands and lives. Weber painted this portrait over there. On the final voyage, Cook was killed in 1779 by Hawaiians who feared he was taking their king hostage. Hey, fine big love. So, Mr. James Cook himself. Botany Bay is where now the Sydney International Airport is. This is James Skinner, the son of an Indian Rajput woman and a Scottish East India Company army officer. He was barred from joining East India Company due to his mixed heritage. Instead, he established a mercenary regiment of Indian cavalrymen known as Skinner's Horse. Over 30 years, this regiment for hire helped the British dominate India by 1820s. He was eventually made Companion of the Order of the Bath, a British honor for distinguished service. He wears its insignia in this portrait by the Delhi court artist Ghulam Hussain Khan. Yes. Okay, some serious lighting. Oh, Robert Burns. The poet Robert Burns was born into a farming family in Scotland, brought up on a rich oral culture and full of folk songs and tales in the Scots dialect. He also learned English and Latin, but cultivated the image of an uneducated rural poet. His first major publication, Poems, chiefly in the Scottish dialect, 1786, was an immediate success. His verses were valued for both their vivid depictions of local life and issues and their powerful descriptions of universal human emotions. Burns has been regarded as Scotland's national poet since his early death at 37 years old. His Auld Lang Syne is still sung to welcome in the new year. Scottish language and literature. Let's read this one out. The Act of Union of 1707 between Scotland and England provoked a new interest in Scottish language and literature. The failed attempt to restore the Stuart royal family in 1745 increased the sense of Scottish culture as both important and under threat. Poetry was published in the Scots dialect, most famously by Robert Burns, novels and poems in English by other authors, including Sir Walter Scott, addressed nationalist issues. Collectively, these writers created a body of literature that shared a new sense of Scottish identity with the wider public. There was also a resurgence of interest in Gaelic, the indigenous language of the Highlands and Islands. Traditional tales of adventure were written down, rewritten, and invented, creating a shared sense of heroic past. James Macpherson, this person here. Macpherson's writing helped to establish a sense of Scotland's heroic past. It also stimulated interest in early Scots Gaelic and Irish literature. Macpherson claimed that his publications, such as Fingal, 1762, were exact translations of the poems of Ossian, a 3rd century bard, taken from ancient manuscripts that he had discovered. It soon became clear, however, that Macpherson wrote them himself, although he drew on Gaelic stories, songs, and poetry. Although denounced as a fraud by Samuel Johnson, Macpherson became the first Scottish writer to gain an international reputation, and his work had a huge influence on the Romantic movement, especially in Europe. Daniel O'Connell. Jesus. Give me a second, guys. I need to rearrange a couple of things here. Okay, King George III, Ireland, 1800. Give me a sec. Sorry. Gonna experience some shaking. Oh, look, this is an interesting genealogy tree. So this is how Stuarts went to Hanoverian. This is monarch of England and Ireland, monarch of Scotland, monarch of Great Britain and Ireland, monarch of the United Kingdom, Great Britain and Ireland. These are marriages, these are children. So James I of England, James VI of Scotland. I think this is a child of Mary, Queen of Scots, no? I think, oh, like is he not? I don't remember now. Anne of Denmark. Hold on. Child. He had child. His child was Charles I, the guy who got executed. And Charles married Henrietta Maria. Okay. And his other offspring was Elizabeth, Electress Palatine, and Queen of Bohemia. So Charles gave birth to Charles II, who came back from exile and had 15 or so mistresses. And let's see, and he was the father, is that right, of James II. Charles II died without any children. That's funny, right? Oh yeah, because he never slept with his wife. It was only his mistresses. Right, James II was married to Anne Hyde and then to Mary of Modena. And he gave birth to William III, Mary II. Oh, they were married. Okay. And Queen Anne, who also died childless, by the looks of it. Mary of Modena. Okay, so these guys didn't become queens or kings. Let's see. And then we have this three here. Elizabeth, Electress, Palatine, and Queen of Bohemia, daughter of James I of England, James VI of Scotland, who gave birth to Sophia, Electress of Hanover, who then gave birth to George I. Then George II, married to Caroline of Brandenburg-Ansbach. Okay, gave offspring to King George II, and then Frederick Louis, Prince of Wales, Augusta, who married Augusta of Saxe-Gotha, who then gave rise to George III. All very complicated, no? Hold on. George IV, William IV, and then finally Queen Victoria. Okay. The one who married Prince Albert as her consort. Yeah, let's see about sorry. Ireland. So Ireland, until the Act of Union of 1800, Ireland had its own parliament, but was ruled by the British monarch. In 1798, the United Irishmen, a political movement aiming to complete Irish independence from Britain, led a rebellion. The fighting included atrocities on both sides, and the British government decided that Ireland could not be left with even a limited degree of independence. The Irish Parliament was abolished, and Ireland was legally incorporated into a new United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Across the United Kingdom, there were strict laws limiting the activities of Catholics, the majority of the Irish population. The government's fear of revolution and a successful campaign led by Daniel O'Connell eventually resulted in the repeal of the most severe of these laws in 1829. So this is the guy. No, this is not. Oh no, this was the guy, Daniel O'Connell. So Daniel O'Connell, known as the Liberator, the lawyer Daniel O'Connell was a key figure in the early 19th century political struggles between Ireland and Britain. He led the campaign to achieve Catholic emancipation, to the repeal of laws that imposed various restrictions on Catholics and kept them from public office. The campaign achieved success in 1829, and O'Connell became the first Catholic MP in the British Parliament. O'Connell was an inspiration to the spread of democracy in Europe and a powerful advocate against slavery. He declared that until slavery was abolished, no American slaveholder ought to be received on a footing of equality by any of the civilized inhabitants of Europe. This is Duke of Wellington. Actually, let's see. What is so? There's like lots of pubs called Duke of Wellington in London and probably elsewhere. Let's read it out. Jason, thank you. Okay, the most famous soldier and statements of his day, Wellington led the campaign that defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Wellington is shown here a year after he became Prime Minister. During his time in office, a central issue was the campaign for the repeal of laws preventing Catholics from sitting in Parliament and entering many other professions. Wellington was from an Irish Protestant family and somewhat reluctantly oversaw the passing of the bill in 1829 that revoked most of these laws. Wellington was painted frequently throughout his life. Okay, the Battle of Waterloo. You mean Duke of Wellington? Okay, thank you. Robert Stewart. Hold on. Okay. Some Scottish connection, no? Here. Rob Stewart. Let's see. Rob Stewart, Lord Castlereagh, painted by Sir Thomas Lawrence. Castlereagh was an Irish Protestant aristocrat and politician. He helped to crush the 1798 rebellion against the British rule in Ireland and promoted the Act of Union between Britain and Ireland of 1800. As Britain's Foreign Secretary during the Napoleonic Wars, he played an important diplomatic role in the defeat of Napoleon in 1815 and the redrawing of the boundaries of Europe. Castlereagh supported harsh government policies and was blamed for the Peterloo massacre in Manchester in 1819, when more than a dozen protesters were killed. The stresses of his work and public criticism led to mental illness, and he took his own life, in 1822. This is some celebrity from. Um, this is Flora MacDonald. Pure love, thank you. Flora MacDonald was a young woman from the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. Outer Hebrides is like the islands, like Isle of Skye, etc. Actually, they were like the inspiration for, I think a lot of the British Isles geography served as an inspiration for the Game of Thrones. So if you remember, in the Game of Thrones, there was like um, some kingdom or whatnot on the Isles, and I think the Hebrides were the inspiration for that. Flora was imprisoned. Hold on. Here, in 1746, she met Prince Charles Edward Stuart, fleeing following his defeat at the Battle of Culloden. So this is the future Charles II. She disguised him as a maidservant, Betty Burke, and helped him to escape by boat to the Isle of Skye. Flora was imprisoned for a time in London, and her bravery made her a celebrity. Her portrait was painted. She was the subject of poetry, and she met Frederick, Prince of Wales. She later spent 5 years living in North Carolina in the United States, where her husband fought on the British side of the American Wars of Independence. Quite a life she lived, no? So, let me pause it like a Russian guy here. Let's see. 3. Guess who this guy is? Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so this is, I think this whole room in particular talks about the creation of the United Kingdom, like the union between England and Scotland, and then incorporation of Ireland into it as well. So this is Mr. William Shakespeare. The playwright and poet William Shakespeare is celebrated as one of the greatest writers of all time. His influence on English literature, language, and on British national identity is unequaled. This painting was the first portrait to be acquired by the National Portrait Gallery when it was founded in 1856. It is probably the only portrait of Shakespeare painted from life. Shakespeare worked as an actor, and then as a, I don't know if he was an actor as well, or as an actor, and then as a playwright for the popular public theaters and the court. Play scripts at this time were seen as impermanent, soon to be replaced by something new, rather than like writing for television today. The publication of Shakespeare's collected plays, the first volume, in 1623 helped to establish the idea that plays could be lasting, influential works of literature. So, this is a writer, John Bunyan. From a poor family and with little formal education, John Bunyan wrote one of the most popular books ever printed. I don't know if you guys know this one. This one's called The Pilgrim's Progress, from 1678. Probably something Christian, the book, or like religious writing. Let's see who this is. This is, oh, that's okay, Lauren, don't worry. Um, Aki, hello. So this is George Villiers, first Duke of Buckingham. Handsome and ambitious George Villiers was the most influential of a number of close male friends of favorites of King James I. The portrait celebrates Buckingham's power and his much admired looks. He wears the robes and insignia of the Order of the Garter. Knights of the Garter were at this time a select group of the most powerful men in the kingdom. Buckingham became one of the king's leading ministers and was an effective administrator. However, he was widely regarded as corrupt and extravagant and was blamed for military failures in Spain and France. He was murdered by a disgruntled soldier. Oh, drama. Okay, this is a King James VI of Scotland and James I of England. In 1603, when James VI of Scotland inherited the throne of England from his cousin Elizabeth I, Scotland shared a monarch for the first time with England, Wales, and Ireland. James was a prolific, published writer who oversaw a flourishing literary culture. He commissioned the King James translation of the Bible, which was published in 1611 and became an influential source for the development of English language and literature for centuries. Committed to peace, James attempted to balance religious divisions and successfully held the four nations together. However, his handling of finances was disastrous, creating a difficult legacy for his son Charles, King Charles. So this is the first Duchess of Marlborough. Remember, what was it, John Churchill? And it's that he had like the forefather of Winston Churchill. He had a lot of influence at court thanks to his wife. So I think this is his wife. A close friend of Queen Anne from her youth, Marlborough became the most intimate and powerful of the Queen's attendants. She held important court posts that enabled her to control business and access to the Queen. The golden key she wears in this portrait is a symbol of these posts. This is the golden key. Marlborough used her position successfully to promote the political and military agenda of her husband, John Churchill, Duke of Marlborough. For 10 years, her forceful intellect had an enormous influence over both Queen and country. The Duchess's uncompromising personality eventually led to clashes with Anne, and the Marlboroughs fell from favor in 1711. Oh, drama. The key to the lavish. Oh my. And this is Queen Anne. Hold on. Anne was the first female monarch to reign alone in Britain since Elizabeth I, and the last monarch of the Stuart dynasty. Her reign from 1702 to 1714 was a period of relative prosperity in spite of wars in Europe and power struggles at home between political factions in government. Anne presided over the Act of Union in 1707, bringing England and Scotland together as Great Britain. A European peace was also secured by the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713. Her personal life with her husband Prince George of Denmark was marked by relentless tragedy. She had 17 pregnancies, but just one child lived beyond infancy and only to die at 11. Oh my god. That's crazy, no? 17 pregnancies and one child who died. Take this picture. This is, I'm going to read who this is. Bonnie Prince Charlie. Prince Charles Edward Stuart. Bonnie Prince Charlie was a grandson of the deposed Catholic King James II. Born in Rome, he was the great hope of those who wished to restore the exiled Stuart dynasty to the throne. This flamboyant portrait painted in Rome shows a teenage prince lavishly dressed, but also wearing armor, presenting him as a future military leader and monarch. In 1745, Charles landed in Scotland and led a rebellion that progressed to Derby. Without sufficient strategic support, his army retreated and was defeated at Culloden in 1746. Charles escaped, and his later life was marked by depression and alcoholism. But he remains a romantic figure. Drama. A lot of drama in this one. We have here. I might do like a quick sweep of the rooms. This display says Portraits and Propaganda. King William III and Queen Mary II. This plate was probably made shortly after William and Mary's joint coronation in 1689. The display of a plate like this enabled people outside the court to show their loyalty to the new regime. The images of the king and queen are emblematic rather than realistic. The popularity of such ceramics at this time was led by an increased interest in the Netherlands, where this kind of decorated earthenware known as Delftware originated. See you, Apple. Okay, so this is Queen Mary II, around 1677. The eldest daughter of James II and his first wife, Anne Hyde, Mary was married to William of Orange at the age of 15. At first, he was indifferent and she was horrified, but their relationship improved, and as a devout Protestant, she supported William's invasion of England in 1688. Okay, I think we've been here, no? To this. I read this one. Hold on. How do I get down from this? This floor to the second floor. Oh, there's another floor here. This is to the gallery. Let's see. Hey, hello guys. Sorry, I'm like holding the phone close to me, so I can't really read a lot of your comments. Toshiki, hello. Oh, this is a restaurant. Yeah, okay. So it's a restaurant with a view. Like you can kind of see the oh, okay. It is. Oh, look, the portrait lesson by uh, Richard Corrigan. I don't know. Might be some chef. Okay, kind of makes sense, right? They'll probably have some nice views there. So to the right, we have Victorians toward the Second World War, and on the left we have making of the modern world. Let's see. The ground floor, history makers now. Victorians. Go to Victorians. I think this is the Romanovs. No? The last Tsar of Russia. Let's have a look. Oh no, King George III. Oh, okay. No, this is not. But they're like King George and the Tsar Nicholas II. They were like very. They were almost like lookalikes. They were like distant cousins, and they were in correspondence with each other. If you look up the portrait of Nicholas II, the last emperor of Russia, he will look exactly the same as King George, and they were in correspondence with each other, calling each other like Nikki and whatnot. And so this it is. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you. This grand portrait shows the family of King George V posed in the white drawing room at Buckingham Palace. Thank you. Oh. Right, let's see. Okay. This is, I think. Oh, this is an exhibition. Yvonne, Life in Colors. Thank you guys. Tidy, I think. So let's see. Inspiring people. Where is the start of this? I guess here we are. This is the chronology, roughly. 1837 to 1901, the reign of Queen Victoria. 1851 is when the Great Exhibition in London opens. 1853 to 1856, the Crimean War that Russia lost to, I think it was joint forces of France and England at the time. Oh yeah, and it was the war that Russia initiated because at the time the Ottoman Empire was crumbling. So Russia kind of used it as a way of grabbing some land, and then it kind of triggered British and the French because they didn't want Russia to become stronger in the region. So they said, okay, well, we're gonna launch a counterattack or whatever. 1856, the National Portrait Gallery founded. 1863, London Grand opened. Hold on, that makes it what? 170 years old? No, more than that. Is it? Hold on. Let's, I think, yeah, 170 years old. 1876, Alexander Graham Bell, patented the telephone. 1903, the founding of the suffragette movement. 1901 to 1910, reign of King Edward IV. 1910 to 1936, King George V. First World War, 1914 to 1918. 1918, Representation of People Act enabling women over 30 to vote. 1935, first Penguin paperbacks published. 1936, King Edward VIII abdicates. This is the king who married the American, I think. 1936, 1952, reign of King George VI. Is that the guy, the king who stammered, right? Stuttered. What? Second World War. 1947, India becomes independent. 1948, in London Olympic Games. 1949, beginning of the modern Commonwealth. 1951, Festival of Britain, whatever that is. And 1952 to 2022, reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Oh, this is a familiar portrait. So this is Louise Joplin. Was one of the most successful female portraitists in Britain in the 19th century when male practitioners dominated the art world. She exhibited her work in London and Paris to critical acclaim. She was an ardent supporter of the votes for women and hosted political meetings and debating classes at the Joplin Art Club, an art school she founded. Lived quite a long life, look at that. 90 years. Survived, lived through the First World War. Oh, hold on. I think this. Am I getting it right? Oh, no. Okay. It is her. The Florence Nightingale is there. This is Florence Nightingale. The nurse became a national hero during the Crimean War. She saved countless British soldiers' lives in Crimea through her expert understanding of hygiene. Newspapers reported how she tended to the wounded by candlelight, earning her the name Lady with the Lamp, the Lady with the Lamp. Nightingale hated publicity, only consenting to sit for a portrait bust when soldiers gave a penny each to pay the sculptor. Nightingale hated the original marble, expressing a pious wish that the bust may be smashed, but its rarity as an authentic likeness meant it was frequently copied. This bronze was cast from the original. Actually, we've got a long life as well. Look at that. 90 years as well.